Hello and welcome to the Ross Cloud Podcast. I'm your host, Car.Ross Sr. And this platform was created to motivate and to inspire in hopes that you will become a better you. I'd like to give a shout out to everybody listening out there. And I'm here with my co-hostess with the mostest, Miss Candi T. What's happening, Candi?
What's going on, Chris?
Yeah, I'm doing wonderful, man. You doing all right?
I'm doing great. I can't complain. How are you today?
No complaints whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
I wish
Glad
this
to
weather.
Be here.
Yeah, I wish the weather make its mind up though.
Yeah, it was freezing, and then the lights went off, and now you don't even need a jacket.
I know, right? So, yeah. So, what we're going to talk about today is decision making. Decisions. And I guess we all at some point have to make good, there's good decisions, bad decisions, or you just do whatever you want to do. But oftentimes there are consequences and repercussions that come behind a lot of those decisions that we make. And you can find yourself trapped in your decisions. They come with a heavy price tag if you're not careful. What's your thoughts on decisions?
Well, decisions are a reflection of who we are and where we are at that time,
I agree. And some of those decisions that we make can be long-lasting stains. Whatever it is, even if you've changed.
Yeah.
You can, there's some consequences that last longer than others. And we have the stains of it, no matter what it is, so you can just try your best to make the best decisions that you can.
Well,
think through them.
Decisions always come with, the pros and the cons. That's what you're working out.
Yes.
I have a program called 9 Steps to Power, and the 9th step is the decision.
Really?
Yeah, and I talk a lot about decision making because a lot of times we only can make decisions based on the choices that we have in front of us.
Yeah.
And some of us have a perception that we only have these choices that we can see. But sometimes you need to surround yourself with people who have another perspective that can see choices that you never thought of.
Yeah, good point.
So, because if you only make choices based on what you see, you might end up making the choice to kind of choose the same variation, a different variation of the same thing. And I think that's how a lot of people get caught up in a cycle. Say, well, I'm in an abusive relationship. I can I have somebody over here that I can run to.
Yeah.
But that person may have some of the same qualities that you're running from.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you choose to be with them.
Yeah.
To get out of this and end up in a worse situation.
Ain't that the truth?
Because you only making the decision within the scope of where you are. And that's all you're going to see. Yeah. So you have to know how to change your entire perspective so that you can make a totally different decision to completely leave that life behind.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Great way to open up with that.
Yeah.
That was awesome, Candi. I loved it. So I'm going to give you a definition, of course.
Awesome. I love the definitions.
Of a decision. It's a noun, a conclusion or resolution reached after consideration. Afterthought, right? And then there's another one here. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So here's one similar. The action or process of deciding something or of resolving a question. Here's a sentence. The information was used as the basis for decision. For decision. As the basis for decision. A formal judgment. Last year's Supreme Court decision. So when we think about decision making, that summed it up right there, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
It did. That summed it up. The act or process of deciding, the moment of decision has come. A determination arrived at after consideration, as we stated before. So,
Wow, the moment after consideration.
Yeah.
So you have to consider, what are you considering?
Yeah, that thought.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what are you considering?
Yeah.
You know, when I make decisions about whether I want to even be in another relationship or not, that is a very powerful example, because when you're choosing to be in relationship with someone, your decision to be with them is not just about being with them, but being with everything that they are connected to.
Everything, right?
Right. You got to take everything with that. And so, you know, when you're in your own world, you know, decisions have the ability to catapult us into an alternate reality.
Yeah.
Because the moment you make a decision to be with somebody else, you are assuming even their reality. And if you're one who has your own thoughts, your own mind, and your own way of thinking and doing and being, it becomes more and more difficult.
Yeah.
The more, you know, people always say, oh, you need to work on yourself before you can be with somebody else.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can work yourself out of being with somebody else, because you can get yourself in such a position that you feel so good and so whole.
Yeah.
You don't even want to bring anybody else into that space.
Yeah, so true.
And
so true.
When I was young and I wasn't working on myself, I could just chill. Anyway, anyhow, it
Without
didn't even matter, right? I was pliable, mutable, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Now, and I would like to say it has more to do with knowledge than age, that I know more.
Yeah.
I'm not able to move that way.
Yeah.
I can look at something and say, nah,
I better not touch that.
I'm good to go. I like where I am, right?
Yeah, facts.
And it takes a while before you get to that yes with the more knowledge that you have.
That's so true. You
know?
Yeah. I like the way you said that, though.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I love what you said. And it makes sense. A lot of pros and cons in there. You know? A lot of that. A lot of pros and cons. And I don't think we weigh them. I don't think a lot of times we weigh them, even when it comes to even relationships, but also business.
Definitely,
even with friendships, you know, the decision to say, okay, I'm going to continue to be this person's friend, irregardless of what I see.
Right.
I'm going to give them a chance. And you can see that in relationships, business relationships across the board.
Yeah, because even if you think about just this platform, right?
Yeah.
When it gets to a point where we have to sign contracts.
Yes.
That's like a marriage, right?
Yeah.
So
pretty much
all of the chit chatting kind of turns into something different, right?
It becomes a business conversation.
Yeah. So you know, it's like, okay, now we get ready to marry into this
vision, right?
Now that has to be really looked at, you know.
And you have to. Everybody have to respect that business decision that you make, whether or not. Well, Ross, I don't think that this is good.
Oh, you signed something right here.
You're going to be like, Chris, listen, you good people. But I think this right here should happen for me.
Yeah.
And you do whatever you want to do. But for me, if we want to make this happen, then this right here needs to happen. I need to see this. Whether it's long term, short term, whatever the case may be.
Right.
That's your decision to make, though.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, I always hear a lot of these guys, a lot of these artists, they come out and, you know, they talk about a lot of the decisions that they made, the poor decisions that they made to sign these contracts, like you was just saying. And man, they find themselves in a whirlwind.
Yeah.
And a lot of it comes from ignorance. A lot of it comes from desperation, poverty, you know, like we was talking about before. A lot of our decisions are made based off of our situation, as stated before, you know. It's based off a decision that depending on what you're going through in your life at the time.
Yeah.
Your lights could be off.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody say to you, hey, we're going to give you $80,000.
Right.
That's a lot of money to you if you just lost your job and your lights off.
Right.
Then you ain't thinking about, okay, I got to make this decision. And it could be the worst decision that you ever made in your life. But at the moment, that 80 grand sounded like $1 million.
Right.
Because you didn't have anything. Your lights are off.
That's so true.
So to think a thing through, do you remember the movie Tyler Perry came out with? I wish I knew the title of it right now, but I can't think of the title of it. But the husband was his battery. He was creating his battery. I think Taraji was playing in this role. She played this role with him. Starts with an A.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, I'm not even going to try to say it because I'll mess it up.
Yeah.
Is it acrimony?
That's it.
It is acrimony.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce it right, too?
You did.
Okay. I was thinking it was something else.
That's it.
Boy, I tell word up, man. Trust me.
You got it.
Okay, then. All right. So that movie, when I think about that movie and I think about the decision that he made to, number one, to stay with her. Because remember in the beginning of that film when she wrecked, remember when she took her car and rammed it into? Okay, right then and there, he should have made a decision to say, okay, I know right now that she's not going to think right. She's unstable in her thinking right then and there. Young love, charge it to the game.
Right.
Now, where she messed up is believing everything that he said. Right. He started off taking her money. He started off, even though he was making promises, baby, I promise I'm going to do this, remember? Now, the thing that's so crazy about that film, she made a decision to stay with him. And then she turned around and her family members helped her make her decision and say, you need to leave him. He ain't making no money. Yeah. And then he ended up getting that $50 or $70 million. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he ended up hitting it big with his invention and the royalties behind it. Everything, the residuals he was going to get behind it. So he ended up, in good faith, to write her a check for $10 million. Sounds like a pretty cool deal, right? Right. You've spent $250,000, and because of the $250,000, if I'm not mistaken, he decided to write you a check for $10 million and say, I'm sorry. Yeah. Here's for everything that you ever did. I'm sorry. I love you. And you left him. And he had to walk away and leave you standing there.
I'm going to have to pull that movie up and look at it again because this is such a good example.
Yeah. And so he decided to walk away, and he ended up being with the very woman that, he got caught with that actually helped him get the deal, and he ended up being with her, and then she showed up unannounced. But you left him. Yeah. And just that whole film was about decisions. Yeah. And it showed
decisions based on what you think you see now, not being able to have that foresight to say, okay, well, I'm going to hang in there,
Set my tail down.
Then again, that's where principles come in, because if you are keeping your vows, right?
Good or
rich or poor,
better or worse.
You supposed to kind of hang in there. That's what the contract says.
That's what it says.
Right.
That's what it says.
And so you breached that contract.
You breach it, right?
And now this is what's happening. As a result,
this is what has happened, right? Yeah. So, life is full of decisions, pros and cons. That law-term causation, cause and effect to everything that happens in our life. And all of it is based off of a decision.
She lost respect for him.
She did. Yeah. She did. She started really, really treating that cat.
She did.
She was like, man, I'm sick of you. You ain't making no money. He was Man, I can't imagine. Like
And
in a
that's
real
hard.
world.
Yeah.
That's a tough.
Yeah.
You ain't bringing no money in. You spending all my mama's money. You made me put this house up for, I'm putting this house up and all my money gone. And you talking about you still want to do this battery.
Mm-hmm.
You done messed up my sister and my sister's stuff and their husbands and their ordeal.
Yeah,
Then he turned around, though.
Yeah,
I must say, he flipped it.
He flipped it.
And so he got $10 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wrote them a check for $10 million.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great analogy I thought I would use as it pertains to decision making. You know, even when I look over my own personal life, some of the decisions that I made, do we wish we could get some of that back? Sure. But it's water under the bridge now. It's done. And
Lessons learned.
Lessons learned. And we have to move on. The thing is, don't make that same decision again.
Please.
But guess what? We see so many repeat offenders.
Yeah.
And I've been a repeat offender. So
sometimes we get familiar with our decisions.
I was going to say that. We become comfortable with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember one time in a leadership, I want to say it was a conference, it was at church, but I remember the bishop saying everything begins with a thought.
Mm-hmm.
So if your thinking is stinking, then guess what? That decision gonna be jacked up, girl, right?
Exactly.
So I love what you said, and you said that. You know, like it's your thought process,
right?
It's where you at in your mind.
It's where you at in your mind.
I mean, think about it. If you a fool now, right? You win the lotto, and you ain't never had $1 billion, Ken. Let's just say $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do with that $1 billion if you a fool? If you a fool,
spend it all.
I was going to say, if you a fool with 40 grand a year,
yeah,
you're going to be a fool, a show enough fool.
Right. Right.
With $1 billion, right?
Exactly.
So everything begins with a thought, your decision making and, the consequences that come behind that, man.
This is where the power to pause comes in.
The power to pause, and we talk about that all the time.
Yeah,
and
you
that's
got to be able to pause and being able to have somebody in your life to show you something different.
I was going to say that too.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you can be so close to your problem,
so close
that you can't see it.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, man, and I'm gonna be transparent. I can remember in my own personal life, in my career in the restaurant business, I had some issues, right? I couldn't keep my hands off the money and I couldn't keep my hands off the honey. Mm-hmm. I honestly couldn't.
Yeah.
Right? So when I look back over my life, and I was on fast track to do some amazing things with this particular company. I really worked hard. I had really proven myself to be an awesome manager, could do the systems, could run the restaurant, the times, everything. And I was just, my name was buzzing like, oh, man, he's going to do some good things for us in this company. But every decision that I made was a selfish decision. I didn't think about anybody else. I thought about myself and what felt good to me at the moment, Candi. What felt good to me at the moment was, I'm finna go and get this. That felt good to me at the moment.
Yeah.
But it also said what my mindset was too, Candi.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying? My mind was on that.
You're right.
All the time. So, everything begins with a thought. If you're thinking it, 9 times out of 10, you're going to act it out at some point. In hopes that you don't get in any trouble.
Right.
We all have been there at some point in our life, but, just thinking about that, your decision making is so, so important. Like
it is.
It's so.
And that takes discipline.
It takes a great deal of discipline.
And we talk about that a lot.
Yes.
Because none of what we talk about can happen without discipline.
Without discipline, Candi.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you may not be on the edge of doing something, but if you pull back, that means you made the right decision. Because at the end of the day, you're still human.
Yeah.
I continue to say that. You're still a human. You're still without flaw. The thing is to make the right decision, not to put yourself in that predicament where you fail.
Right.
And you know, that's the thing about it. It would be easy if some buddies came to me and say, "Hey, Ross, let's go to the strip club," right? Mm-hmm. So right then and there, that thought has already been put here in my head, right? Mm-hmm. So I got to pause, right? I really have to sit back and wait a second and say, okay, now, if I go to that strip club, what are the chances that I might not do this?
Right.
What are the real chances of me seeing naked women dance around and shake everything they got in front of me that I'm not going to do nothing, right?
Right.
That's where your thought, that's where that critical thinking, you need to be thinking real fast. And if you want to continue to make the same mistakes, then you're okay with who you are. And it's okay. If that's who you are, that's who you are.
Yeah, if you can afford them.
If you can afford.
Because they're expensive.
Yeah.
Mistakes are so expensive.
Man, don't they cost a lot?
That costs a lot.
They cost a lot, and they can cost you a lifetime.
Yeah, that's right.
It can cost you a lifetime.
Because when you think of the opportunities you miss because you were making decisions based on immediate desires and not necessarily the outcome that you really wanted.
Come on.
That cost a lot.
It costs a lot, Candi.
Yeah.
You know, I like to tell people divorce is expensive. So if you're okay with spending your money, if you're okay with being
divorce after divorce after divorce,
if you're okay with, trust me, I know.
Yeah.
It costs to relocate. It costs to move. It costs to get out of divorce. Child support ain't no joke.
Yeah.
You got to pay that. It costs to be a father away from children. It costs to pay for alimony, child support, giving up things, losing things. There's a price tag that comes with that, and it's a hefty one. And when you get to a certain age, you
don't want to go through that.
You don't want to go through that no more.
Yeah.
So you're gonna make the right decision. For the most part, you know, you're gonna.
It costs to be sick.
It costs.
So when you're out here and you're doing everything with yourself, and then you end up sick, how much money is it costing you when you can't work an opportunity that could bring you hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you got to say no because you laid up somewhere? You got to have constant surgeries, or you got to have this, or you got to have that. It's expensive to be sick. So it's better to just say, you know what? I'll pass that. I won't eat that. I won't do that. I won't take that. I won't, whatever it is that is not going to bring you closer to your goal, and you decide to just not do it.
Yes.
That can save you so much money down the road.
Man, talk about it.
And heartache.
I love what you said, too. It's expensive. Poor decision making can be expensive.
It is.
You can go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I know people who won't take certain jobs just so they can smoke weed.
Crazy, right?
And I'm like, really? You don't want to give up the weed, and so you're gonna let this job go by?
It's a lot of people like that,
right?
A lot of people, and a lot of people. They're okay with the inconvenience of having somebody else pee for them.
Yeah,
take urine test. It's an inconvenience, but it's a convenience and an inconvenience. Let me say that.
That's another alternative that people take.
At some point, that's gonna get old for people.
Yeah.
Man, I ain't gonna keep peeing for you.
Right.
After a while, that pee gonna end up being on you.
Yeah.
That bag gonna bust on you.
I know somebody who was having allergic reactions and went to the doctor and found out they were allergic to weed. So you're allergic to weed. You're not able to comfortably partake in it without having these allergic reactions. So now you still have to exercise some type of discipline, or find an alternative route or whatever works for you, know. So in life, there's just no escaping having to learn how to discipline yourself.
None.
You can't get around it.
It all works together to be consistent requires discipline.
Yeah.
To manage your money requires discipline. To refrain from whatever it is, it requires a great deal of discipline, man, right? To make the right decisions, you're right. It requires discipline. Mm-hmm. A lot of it. Consistency, all of it.
Because you feel like, okay, I've been doing this for 10 years and I ain't messed up or nothing. Can I just do this right? I'm going to do this right here.
Yeah.
And then the very moment you decide that you're going to get off the rails and do something that you think you deserve, something happens and you're like, dang, I shouldn't have did it.
Yeah. I just watched a movie, to your point. I just watched a movie yesterday called The Bandit. Have you ever seen it? It's called The Bandit.
Who's in it?
I think it's on Netflix, or I don't know these actors. I'll be honest with you. I didn't. Let me say this. I know who they are, but I don't know them by name. Let me say that. You know what I'm saying?
The Bandit. Is it a series or a movie?
This was a particular movie that I caught, and I think it was on Netflix that I caught it. So here's a guy who had made the conscious decision to rob banks, right?
Okay. I love bank robbing movies.
So he made a decision to start robbing banks, right?
Does he escape prison?
Yes.
Okay, I see it. I'm going to check it out.
Okay, so he escaped prison, number one. That was the first decision that he made, right? Mm-hmm. So he went north. He went to Canada and this is a true story. That's what's so great about it. Uh-huh. But you hear about his decisions that he made. So, Candi, this cat was just robbing banks all over Canada, all in northern Canada, Ottawa, and Vancouver and Montreal. This cat, I think he robbed anywhere from 30 to 30-something, 80-something banks over a period of time in the early 80s. It might have been 70s, 80s. I'm not real sure. But at any rate, in the movie, as they're telling the story, he got to a certain place where he had a certain amount of money. So he was like, look, I'm done. But he had partnered with this guy, this guy who owned the strip club, who was just kind of like a crook within itself, right? So he made a decision to partner with him and say, hey, listen, I can steal this amount of money and you can get this and we can partner. What's up? So they partnered. So boom, he stole money, but it was getting hot around there. It was getting hot. So he got ready to pull out. So he told the guy, he said, look, man, I'm out. I'm going away. So instead of coming south, he went further north in Canada. Mm-hmm. So they moved in a small town in Canada. I'm just kind of like giving you the premise of it. So the point I'm making is his decision making. So anyway, he had robbed and stole all this money from these banks. He stole in excess of $2 million, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was doing big heists. Mm-hmm. So $2 million. So the last time they stole some jewelry, and they took about $1 million worth of jewelry. So he was like, I'm done, right? I mean, this is before the jewelry heist. So he had stolen about $2 million. He told the guy, listen, I'm done. So the cops was chasing him. So he went north. He said, listen, take this money right here. I need you to go buy me a house up north while I get my family settled. She ended up getting pregnant while the police was looking for him, right? It's a great movie. Mm-hmm. Great freaking movie. I'm already
on it.
It's a great movie, right? Great movie. So I don't want to tell it all to you then. But at any rate, he got to a point where he had made enough money, really. Cops wasn't looking for him no more. He was actually pretty good, right? The old dude that he was in partnership pulled up and said, hey, man, I got this last hit that you can make. Mm. Come on, is this what you really want to do? Just sit around here? You know, hey, that's not you. Being the devil. Mm-hmm. Being persuasive. Mm-hmm. That was that devil on his shoulder, being persuasive. Oh, man, come on, let's do this last heist. It was like $1 million worth of jewelry, right? So he made the decision. He made the decision to come out of retirement from being a bandit and decided to go rob the jewelry store. And his decision making was the demise and fall.
Dang, he could have just stopped and sailed off into the sunset.
But he didn't. his decision making.
Subconsciously, when things like that happen, I think we want to get caught.
I think
right?
we do too.
But then I hear, because it's another, this is another thing that we need to address, addictions when it comes to decision making. He was addicted to the rush of doing that.
He said it was the best thing he ever did.
Yeah. So. The kangaroo bandit was another story the same way about this guy who was robbing banks. You need to look him up. He has a good story too.
Okay, I'm going.
He's a motivational speaker now.
Okay, awesome.
But he said he was addicted to it after he didn't even need it. He was so good, he got tired of doing it and turned himself in. The FBI agent that was investigating him knew it was him, but he didn't have the proof.
That's how this
and they faced off a couple of times.
Wow.
And he finally hit rock bottom because so much other stuff was connected to robbing banks, right?
Sure.
He had his own inner demons he was dealing with.
Yeah.
So he got tired of wrestling with all of it. And he finally contacted the FBI agent and said, meet me here, my wife and kids. I'm gonna turn myself in.
I love it.
But I want to do it my way.
Yeah.
But you got to see it. It's good.
I'll check that out.
Because he had a lot of decisions that he needed to make within that. And he had a valid reason for robbing the banks in the first place. He was trying to help out a family member. So, you think about decisions, what you think he was trying to find the quickest way to get the most money.
Sure. I got you.
Right. Now, if you're thinking like that, and that's all you put yourself in with this little box framework of thinking.
Sure.
Then that's going to definitely limit your choices. Oh, wow. I think I'll rob a bank.
Man, you crazy.
Right? How in the world?
I never thought about robbing no bank now. I just haven't.
But, that's what his desire to get the most money for the quickest amount in the quickest amount of time. That's what was in his perspective.
I love it, man. I absolutely love that. I just do.
It affected every part of his life.
It affected every part. That's what I'm saying. Like, one bad decision can just mess up your life forever, and you can find yourself in a trap forever. Literally. Even if you never go to prison, sometimes the decisions you make can cause you to be incarcerated in your own personal life, whatever that is, So, yeah, man. So make good decisions, y'all, as much as you can, no judgment zone from us, but trust me, you want to make good decisions. So here is a, something that I just ran across, and I think it may be Christian based, but these are some great tools that you can use. It's from, oceanprograms.com. Oceanprograms.com. 5 ways to make wise decision. Now, of course, this has to do with your enterprise, but I think these can be used in everyday life.
Okay.
Number 1, pros and cons. Sometimes the cons are so overwhelming that a compelling case is made not to make the decision. In this case, you should obtain advice from other people regarding the pros and cons that they see, and then take the decision to the Lord in prayer. That's what it says. That's what it says, right? So again, this is Christian based. Whether you believe in the Christian values, I just think these are great tools that anybody could use.
The power of the pause.
The power of the pause. Number 2, risk to reward ratio. What is the upside and downside of a particular decision? Always consider the risk to reward ratio of every major decision. That's risk to ratio. Number 3. Strategic planning. The strategic plan in full accord with your mission is your plumb line to guide you as to which current initiatives you should continue or drop. Number 3 was that. Number 4, get insight from wise outside resources. And that's self-explanatory. If somebody's been in business for 30, 40 years, and guess what? You probably need to talk to them and they're still successful after 30, 40 years. That's probably who you need to talk to, right? And number 5, this one is, again, this is a Christian base. It says wisdom comes from the Lord. And the most important step you can take in making wise decisions is to pray and earnestly seek the Lord's guidance. So that's number 5. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, I think these are great choices that you can use in order to sustain and fulfill a good life and to...
and be willing to make the sacrifices for the decisions that you embrace, right? You said this is what you wanted to do. And then when you get to the part where you got to make the sacrifice, then you try to find another route and say, you know what? This might not be the best route after all.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So whatever you're deciding is, whether it's religious belief, sexual preferences, business decisions, what kind of car you want to drive, what kind of house you want to live in, what kind of food you want to eat, whether you're going to be vegan, whether you're going to be pescatarian, whatever it is, make your decision. And like the young people say, stand on it.
Stand on it.
Stand on it. And be okay with being different.
Right.
It's okay to be different. Just whatever you do, remember you made the decision. Nobody made it for you. You made the decision. At the end of the day, you can get wise counsel. You can talk to who you want to talk to. But if you don't use the tools that are given to you so you can be successful at every area of your life,
right,
then just make the decision and be done with it.
And be done with it.
And be okay with your decision.
And it'll work for you.
It'll work for you. I promise you. I promise you it will. So listen, I hope we've said something today that could help you become better. Listen, I'm Car.Ross Sr.
And I am Candi T. Jeter.
Make it a day. Make it a great day and keep being great. Candi, what's the name of your book? Give them the title of both of your books.
You can go to www.thelettinggobook.com and both my books are on there. How to Let Go Even When It Seems Impossible and 25 Thoughts About Your Destiny.
There it is. And those require great decisions.
Yeah.
Keep being great. Peace.